Some of the headlines over the weekend pertaining to this Vice President Dick Cheney CIA story and whether or not he actually ordered the CIA to keep information from top congressional intelligence officials. That was a headline, front page of the New York Times, top of your show yesterday. I spoke with a former senior intelligence official yesterday who said that the program was not a program, that it was maybe very close to being potentially acted upon, but it was not at the level where they needed to talk to Congress or anybody from the administration about, and completely debunks the New York Times report. Where do we go with this? Because we have, of course, the senator here calling for an investigation. It seems like there's a lot of politics involved here.
Well, it's typically the case, but this is just part of a series of steps that the administration may want to take to look backward. You've heard of Attorney General Holder now considering bringing a prosecutor to look at alleged torture during the Bush administration. So, I mean, this will take some form where there will at least be some very serious questions, perhaps an investigation, as Senator Durbin indicated over the weekend he would like to see. We do know that Director Panetta shut down whatever program this was when he learned about it and then briefed Congress about what he had done. It was Democrats only who produced this letter to make this public. We still don't know what the nature of the program was, but we certainly know that there has been a battle of wills here between Democrats and the CIA over how much Bush-era programming was briefed to Congress. So this is certainly not going to go away. I think there'll be a lot more questions about it, and of course the exact nature of the program and whether the former vice president will weigh in on this. We'll move it forward. Pat
Buchanan, before we get to Senator Durbin, just following up on David's comments, it does seem, you could argue, that there are some political reputations at stake here, and that this story could back up or shore up some political reputations that have been brought down recently.
I agree with that. I think that, look, on national security issues, if you're going to go after Bush and Cheney because they were too tough, too ruthless, going after al-Qaeda, too militant, I think that's going to benefit the Republican Party, quite frankly. It will divide the Democratic Party and will raise that old specter that these guys are soft on national security. I'd like to ask David, has anybody asked the question, how is it that Leon Panetta, whom they said shut down the program as soon as he heard about it, didn't even hear about it until late June? Apparently, that suggests that the CIA kept Panetta himself in the dark for 6 months, or he's not on top of the agency.
Well, you know, Pat, it's actually a question that came up on Meet the Press yesterday in my conversation with Senator McCain, who asked that very question, who said one of the things I would want to find out is why it is that Director Panetta did not learn about it until this point, what happened in that intervening period before he shut the program down. That's why I think we're going to get a lot more questions, and I think Senator Durbin will shed more light on at least what the Democrats want to see in terms of any investigation about this.
All right, David, that's a perfect segue to the senator here, because the former senior intelligence official I spoke to yesterday said it wasn't a program yet. It just wasn't. And the way that this person described it to me, it was more of a spying or an intelligence gathering effort, an effort to develop a capacity to execute a potential concept. Again, not something at the stage in which you would be going to congressional intelligence officials about, or talking to the vice president or anybody high level in the administration about. So, Senator Durbin, welcome to the show. You're calling for an investigation. You're calling this a massive program. How do you know that?
I don't know that it's a massive program. It's a different world. In the world, it goes something like this. A presidential finding is submitted to the Intelligence Committee. The Intelligence Committee can comment on it, and then a program may evolve. It isn't the kind of thing that we naturally see in terms of legislation. But the bottom line principle is this. There is no executive, no president who is allowed to act without being accountable to another branch of government. The Supreme Court said that, the Constitution says that, and in this case, the president, the White House, has a responsibility to disclose to the Intelligence Committee what they are doing.
But clearly you think there was something worth investigating investigating here? I mean, a lot of people would ask politically for this administration, what are you inviting when you call for an investigation? You must think that there is some sort of substance here that is worth investigating. How do you know that?
I'm no longer on the Intelligence Committee. What I'm saying to you is based on public information. What I've heard, what I've read from the New York Times is that there was at least something underway that was not disclosed to the Intelligence Committee. Now, in terms of calling for an investigation, there are currently 2 ongoing investigations of intelligence activity by the Bush administration, both of them initiated by the Bush administration. The destruction of videotapes that showed the interrogation techniques. The Bush administration said questions that need to be answered. Secondly, the conduct of the attorneys who suggested that torture could be approved. That too needed to be approved, or at least investigated, by the Bush administration. So it isn't as if we're talking about something that even the Bush administration didn't call on itself. I think the questions need to be answered. We have an open government that is supposed to at least abide by basic constitutional principles. And as I read this morning's paper, it suggests the House Intelligence Committee is starting this investigation.
I want to give it to David Gregory for a question, but just last quick question. Is there anything beyond the New York Times report that led to your comments yesterday that there should be an investigation?
No, I'm no longer on the Intelligence Committee, so I don't have access to classified information.
David Gregory, you want to chime in?